Hello, hello! I am so excited to share with you something that I have poured my heart and soul into, and that is my memoir, Blessed by Angels, a memoir of a medium, sharing messages from beyond. Welcome to the Blessed by Angels podcast. My name is Jen Gilbreth. Ever since I was a little girl, I have felt deeply connected to the angelic realm. Over the years, I have dedicated my time and energy towards delivering messages from beyond. Yes, that's right. I talk to dead people, although I don't necessarily consider them dead. In many ways, they are much more alive than us in this physical realm. On this podcast, I will be channeling messages from spirit. Whether you tune in each week for the new messages or feel like picking a message at random, this podcast is designed for spirit to lead you to the messages for you here and now. These messages have changed the way I view and play in life. I hope that these messages can do the same for you. Not only am I turning 30 in the month of May, I also have my book that has just launched on Amazon. And it feels so good. So on this podcast, I thought I would share a little bit with you about my book, read you a couple of things, and kind of dive deep into the inspiration behind all of it. So let me first read the preface, and then I'll read you a couple different pieces, and we'll dive deeper. My dream job as a child was to be an author. I spent hours writing in my journal, plays, and books. During elementary school, they had a program in which students could publish books. I had 3 books published. My favorite time of the school year was when the teacher passed out fresh, new book writing packets. That meant that my book was about to come to life. The times in between writing was filled with daydreams of what the next book could be. I tend to be a very private person, and at times it is difficult to verbalize my thoughts and feelings. Writing has always been an outlet to express and understand my emotions. It has been a direct connection to what my heart is trying to say. While I know writing books would be in my future, I never imagined writing about something so dear to my heart, being a medium. And I am not referring to the size of clothing that I wear, but rather talking with dead people. The day finally came when I dropped out of college in the middle of the semester, quit my job, and moved back in with my parents to pursue my heart's desire of sharing messages from the great beyond. It was this courageous decision that changed my life forever. Since then, I have delivered hundreds of messages that have impacted my life and those I have worked with. There is nothing more exciting than bridging my childhood dream of writing with my adulthood soul calling of mediumship. At first, the idea of writing a book about my life was overwhelming, but it kept coming to my mind. Despite feeling the urge to start, I informed my angel team that I planned to start writing when I had some free time. In that same week, every single session I had rescheduled. My week was wide open. I heard the team of my angels, loud and clear. It was time to get going. I have poured my heart and soul into these pages. This book is as vulnerable as it gets. I share my raw experiences talking with dead people, past relationships, rejection, and the wounding of organized religion. This is my experience of embracing my gifts as a medium and my new connection to the divine. I will also be sharing messages that have been channeled, sprinkled throughout each chapter. As the words and experiences have come flooding through, I have found myself hesitating to write my authentic experience in fear that others would reject me. My whole life, I have felt the need to shut my mouth, stay quiet, and fall in line. I'm not going to do that any longer. I am not here to sugarcoat anything or do the opposite by making everyone feel comfortable. This is my story of finally embracing the truths that stem from the very core of my being. Whether you felt called to deepen your spiritual connection, communicate with your departed loved ones, or maybe find yourself intrigued by the word medium, good or bad, I hope my story can awaken your heart and mind to the boundless possibilities beyond this physical realm. Remember, you are eternally linked to the divine, for you are the divine yourself. So that was just the preface of this book. Getting started, it was such a wild ride, and it has been a collection of reflecting and healing. As we reflect upon our life, it gives us a space to really dive deeper into our own healing. And that is exactly what this book did for me. So I'll read the introduction. I clicked my seatbelt, placed my hands on the steering wheel, and took 3 deep breaths. My heart was beating in my ears while my eyelids pulsed. I was devastated. Bitterness, betrayal, and deep sadness entered into my heart. It was like someone punched my heart so hard that it had sunk into the floor. I felt soulfully attacked. As I drove away, I watched the church I so desperately loved fade into the background. It was at that moment I knew it was time to make a decision. I could either follow the calling I felt with every fiber of my being, or let others control my life and tell me how I should live. This was a choice for me and me alone. I didn't fully understand what I know now, that this choice would greatly impact my expression, self-worth, and connection to the divine. This decision would have an impact on my life forever. This is my story of hearing a call deep within to embrace my gifts as a medium. My story of soul lessons I learned along the way. My story of being forced into the shadows of my soul to heal deep religious wounding. My story of being a medium and delivering messages from the dead. This is where my story begins. Not only were the words such a beautiful aspect of reflection, of channeling these messages in, I also sprinkle messages from beyond throughout each of the chapters. So when we talk about childhood, I share some of the messages and insight that has come from the other side about spiritual children, about how to support children, about how we can reconnect to our inner child. And so there's so many different dynamics that this book brings about. Along with the beautiful messages and my stories in this book, I thought I would take some time to talk about the little aspects of this book that really brought it to life. So if we look at the cover here, you can see so many beautiful parts to this. My artist did an absolutely phenomenal job. She did everything that I asked and then some. But the thing that I first wanted to start with is I've had a couple of people ask, why is it that that grandmother or that angel lady looks old? Because so often we think that when we cross over, we want to be fresh and new and young and in the best possible shape or condition that we are in this physical world. And honestly, I have found so often that a lot of times spirits want to keep their bodies, they want to keep the essence of maybe where their body was. You know, I have a lot of different members on my angel team on the other side, and some of them actually come forward as older women and older men. And I've asked them why that is, and they tend to tell me that we view wisdom in age. And if they were to come up to me in my meditations or when I'm channeling, and they're like this really young, tiny energy, I might not understand the depth of the knowledge and the insight that they carry. And so I work with a woman on the other side who is quite literally an old looking lady. And she chooses to be that way because her soul has so much wisdom that in order for me to fully see and understand the depth of her, she shows up in an older form. I've also had some ladies come forward who were maybe a little bit more plump in their body. And not only that, they love that aspect about them. And so often they come to remind me that being human isn't bad, our body isn't bad, and that actually the wrinkles and the curves and the cellulite and all of these different aspects of us are an extension of nature. It's literally when we see ourselves, or we see maybe hair on our arm, and then we look at the grass, or we look at the trees, or we look at the clouds. We are a blueprint of Mother Earth, and so is our body. And so a lot of times they show up to me in ways that we typically would think that aren't what we would choose in the spirit realm, but there's always a really deep, beautiful meaning and purpose. And so I left her looking a little bit older as a conversation starter about that exact principle. The next thing that we added in here, of course, was above is the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Because in this book, we also talk a lot about divine duality. And within all of us, we have masculine and feminine energy. And God has masculine and feminine energy. There is an essence of who God is that is both divine principles. So of course I always wanted to add that in there because it's such a powerful reminder that we're not alone, and that having duality, having light and dark, good, bad, happy, sad, is actually a universal law, and it's here forever. There's a reason, and that is why. I also had her add some of my favorite herbs and favorite plants into this space, along with the butterflies. I had a very special experience. We'll talk about these a little bit more. But when my grandmother died, and I actually do talk about it in this book, my experience, because as right after she crossed over, I could literally feel and experience everything that she was going through, which is a very tremendous experience. And I feel so grateful to have been able to witness that. But a few days later, I went to her grave because I wanted to just sit with everything that I experienced. And as I was doing so, I saw two butterflies that came in front of me, and they were dancing in a spiral together, which reminded me of my grandmother and her husband. It just felt like that was it was a message that they were together and that they were at peace, and that there was a lot of play in her transition to the other side. And so I wanted to add those in there. And if we go further into the book, each chapter has a dandelion with these butterflies. And the reason why I chose a dandelion, for those who know me, know that I have such a passion for dandelions. I love them. I love all kinds of herbs. Learning about all of that has really activated a lot of my genetic connection to my ancestors. But not only that, like my soul feels like it really connects to the dandelion, because so often, we spray weed killer, we kill the dandelions, and we've kind of been taught, oh, these are such a bad thing, they'll spread, which of course they do. But honestly, there's so many healing benefits, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, that dandelions bring for us. And not only that, they spring up abundantly all around us. They even grow in the cracks of concrete. But we're taught that we have to get rid of them, to kill them, to shut them down, which is exactly how I have felt about my spiritual gifts growing up. Is that, no, I can't have them. Shut them down. It's not okay. Pull it away. Don't open it. Just get rid of it completely. And honestly, I've had so much healing and have been able to be a channel and a vessel for others to experience healing as well. And so for that purpose, I have added the dandelion into each of the chapters. And you also see the dandelion when it's flying away, when it's spreading its seeding. And that's also part of it, is when we can embrace our gifts, when we can find healing in what really lights us up, we can start sharing that with others. And not only that, it will plant something within them so that they can grow their own beautiful wisdom. They can grow their own plant or their own dandelion and really own their healing power, their voice, their experience, their purpose here. So that's why I added the dandelion, because there's so much to that. And along with the dandelion, as we are continuing on this book, there is also a heartbeat with angel wings. And within each of the chapters, these are the messages that have been delivered from beyond that are sprinkled throughout each of them. And the heartbeat is really because we are deeply connected to our ancestors. Our heart beats for them, and they are connected to us within our heart. Our heart is also our center, it's our bridge from heaven and earth. It is when we connect into our heart, we can connect into our ancestors. We can trust ourselves more deeply and have even more power and purpose for our life. So those are just a few of the deeply experiential. So these are just a few of the little extra sprinklings of magic, of ancestral roots that come along with this book. Is in the cover, is in the illustration, and in the design. At the back of the book, I share messages from beyond. This section is just solely dedicated to messages that have been delivered. And I also have added some experiences that others have had while receiving messages from beyond in our sessions. So really, I just feel so honored and so grateful for this book to finally come into fruition and for it to finally be here. Along with a grandmother, the girl next to her, the blonde with the braid, you may notice that she doesn't have clothes on. And that was also for a purpose. I find that, in my lifetime, I've navigated so much about feeling like my body is bad and that it's wrong and that I have to cover up all of the time and hide everything. And I really wanted to also bring the message forward that there's nothing unholy about being human. There is nothing unholy about our bodies. And while, yes, we don't have to show every nook and cranny to everybody if we don't want to, and many would probably prefer not to or not to see all of that, right? But there is a beautiful aspect that we came here to be human. We came here to experience what it's like to be human. And that's so much of our body. Our cravings, our likes, our dislikes, creation energy, it all is experienced in our body. And yet, if we fully believe all the time that we are unholy, if we're bad, or if we're wrong, we actually are pulling ourselves away from really diving in and embracing why we're here. We came here to be human. There is nothing unholy about being human. There's nothing unholy about your body and how it functions and your likes and your dislikes, and there's nothing unholy about that. So that's why I wanted to add her in there, showing a little bit of skin as well. But one of the most profound parts of this book is sharing beautiful messages that have been delivered during my previous sessions. I have such a love and a desire to share these messages with the world because I know truly that we can heal one by one. And as we heal one by one and embrace fully being human in this world, we can make a difference collectively and uplift others who may be struggling. I would invite you to check out Blessed by Angels, a memoir of a medium, sharing messages from beyond.